Dude, straight out of a movie. It was fucking perfect. And I laughed my ass off, and we were like, what the fuck was that? And started to like freak out. Going back to that, being there, I never felt threatened. I never felt, I wasn't scared. I was shocked. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think there's a big difference between those two things for me is like, it was astounding versus like frightening. And, again, I like going right underneath it. I don't know whether we lost time. I don't have any memories of anything. I haven't had any weird dreams or flashbacks or operating tables. I haven't found anything in my ass. I've looked, right? I haven't found
You haven't found anything in your ass from the aliens.
From the aliens, right? Exactly.
You haven't found anything that you didn't put there.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing was like, it was so vivid.
What sort of shape was it? What was it like the prototypical what people think of the saucer? What was it more of elongated? What shape were you actually seeing from the ship from your angle? Because I assume you're underneath it, kind of like watching it get bigger.
Yes.
Above you.
Yes, and it was a kind of a rectangular shape, but a big rectangle, right? And the red lights, think of like left side, right side, right? That's mm-hmm. where the red lights are, right? I don't remember whether they're top, middle, bottom, or whatever it is, but I remember seeing those red lights on one of the corners of each of these things.
Yeah, so just one light on either side.
Bingo, excuse me. And then as mm-hmm. we're turning the corner and driving into this thing, like if the windshield is the size that I'm, kind of looking at, we're a half mile away or so, and it's like a good 2 feet of size taking up the windshield, like still pretty far away from it. Like mm-hmm. it's a big thing. Once I see it with my eyes clearly, I never see it move. I never see it sway. I never see it shift. I never see it go up or down an inch or left to right an inch. It was cemented in the sky.
So it was very still. None of like, if you think of a helicopter moving, even when a helicopter is still, it's still like bouncing from side to side. There was none of that typical kind of like stalling aircraft movement that you would imagine.
Not a millimeter of it. It was cemented in the sky, directly over the road. And, I kind of had this freak out, and I'm trying to process. And then the next thing that I noticed that kind of pulls me back into the present moment is I feel the car accelerate hard. And Dan had like stopped on the gas. Mm-hmm. And then he shifted from like, what the fuck is that, to what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Right. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted him to slow down. I told him to slow down, and I wanted to see like if it's making any noise, because I already noticed and can process that it's not moving, and I can notice and process that it's big as fuck and that we're driving like right into it. So I'm like, all right, maybe it's like some like I'm trying to hear an engine basically. And I got Dan to slow down. He slowed down to like 20, 25 miles an hour, to the point where I was able to hang onto the oh shit bar and like sit on the window. So like mm-hmm. roll the windows down, sit on the window, hang onto the oh shit bar. So my torso is like outside of the window. And it was a beautiful, clear, crisp, cold winter day. Not a sound, not a murmur was in the air, so it was totally silent, totally still.
So if you closed your eyes, you would, like a blind person wouldn't have thought anything was up. They would have been like, we're just driving through a country back road.
Yep. It's literally like they forgot to turn cloak mode on.
Yeah. And that's what I was imagining. I was like, that sounds like they were just doing some recon, and they were chilling there, and someone on the ship or whoever they're controlling it from is like back home. It's like, oh fuck, like dude, you accidentally sat on the switch, like fucking turn that shit back on.
Exactly. Or like somehow like the guy that was supposed to be like guarding the cars like was taking a shit when we were driving through, and like didn't pick up that we were supposed to be there, because it was so blatantly obvious that something is up and that this is not Like there was no hint of that we're trying to keep this from you in any way, shape, or form. It was almost like, yo, motherfuckers, we're here now.
Yeah. That some guy got a talking to at the
Alien HQ,
Alien Explorer
dude.
HR,
Oh my
HQ.
God.
Some guy was like, "Yo, dude, you gotta leave stealth mode on when we got those small things running around Earth in the area. I don't know what they are, but we'll figure it out."
Seriously.
You said you were positioning yourself out the window trying to hear something. So you're driving towards it still. You said Dan started to accelerate. You got both the windows down, I assume, just like trying to hear anything.
Yep.
What's the next new piece of information? Just like anything, it starts to get bigger as expected. You're driving closer, so it's going to start looking bigger. You're driving under the lights are getting brighter. What's kind of the next thing that you feel or see as you start to approach and accelerate this craft or thing?
I don't think I lost time or anything like that, but I really do feel like time slowed down, because once I realized that there was no sound coming out of it, then there was no more like instant logical explanations for what I saw, and thus was able to really settle in pretty immediately into holy fuck. And that's literally what I said as I drove underneath this thing. Like, I realized, oh my God, it's not making any sound. In the next 10 seconds of us driving towards it, and as it gets bigger and bigger, it's just me just going, oh my God, as I passed underneath it. And if a rock was dropped from the dead ass center of that alien or whatever that thing was, it would have hit us in the dead ass center of the windshield. And, it did light up a little bit underneath. I remember very vividly, but unclearly seeing, like, the memory is vivid, but I remember the image being unclear of the bottom of this thing. And it was pretty dark, but I got a little bit of the light from the red light on this side and what I found out to be like a white light, a small white light on the other side. But it was no lights underneath. There were no doors underneath. I couldn't see any portals. There was nothing like that. It just looked textured. It looked like almost as if you were seeing a mountain range from, 20,000 feet, just like textured,
Okay, so almost like the surface of the moon or something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What I might consider, or what people might consider, like an anti-radar type looking thing, right?
Okay.
Or like anti-radar texture or whatever.
What color was it besides the red lights? Were you able to tell what color the actual material was?
Dark, black. Yeah. Once we drove underneath it, I kind of like turned, shifted my body, and looked at it as it kept getting smaller and smaller. And over the next 30 seconds, it just slowly disappeared from my line of sight. And, I sunk back into my chair, and Dan was kind of hunched over the driving wheel. And I remember like seeing him like knead the driving wheel and like the handle. Mm-hmm. And we didn't talk for about 10 minutes. And then he broke the silence with...
So you guys were sitting there silently
for
10 minutes.
For at least 10 minutes.
Taking it in.
And like I was kind of slumped back. He was kind of hunched over. And he takes a big breath. I remember him going, well, that changes everything. And dude, straight out of a movie. It was fucking perfect. And I laughed my ass off, and we were like, what the fuck was that? And started to like freak out. Going back to that, being there, I never felt threatened. I never felt, I wasn't scared. I was shocked. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think there's a big difference between those two things. For me, is like, it was astounding versus like frightening. And, again, I like going right underneath it. I don't know whether we lost time. I don't have any memories of anything. I haven't had any weird dreams or flashbacks or operating tables. I haven't found anything in my ass. I've looked, right? I haven't found
You haven't found anything in your ass from the aliens.
From the aliens, right, exactly.
You haven't found anything that you didn't put there.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing was like, it was so vivid and it was so real, and it wasn't anything that could be explained away, and it wasn't anything that this was about as sure of a thing as I could experience. And I got to experience with someone who I was close with and still am pretty close with. And so, you know, thank God I wasn't solo dolo for this thing. That would have driven me fucking mad,
100%.
dude. But, you know, I didn't feel like they were bad, if that makes any sense.